Hi, Ghosties. I'm Macy.
And I'm Natalie.
And we've got a lot of fun stories for you guys today. So I was putting together an episode, and Natalie reached out to me because on our Patreon, we did the same thing. We did a bunch of Reddit stories that I just felt like I really needed to share with somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And Natalie said, that was a lot of fun. Why don't we do that on the main feed too?
I always feel bad when we do a fun episode on Patreon because I want to just share it with the world. And I also just like Reddit stories. I know that
Yeah.
that's like every other podcast is Reddit stories, but sometimes I enjoy them too. And so I'm like, you know what? We can jump in the pool. We could do this too.
So Natalie chose today's topic. It is Reddit stories of people's strangest and scariest Ouija board encounters.
I love a Ouija board story. And so I wanted to be spooked. I wanted to be scared,
Yeah, I do. It got me thinking about one of our first episodes that it was the Ouija board episode, maybe episode number like 3
Mm-hmm.
or something. And that last story on there, if you haven't heard it, you should go check it out. And I kind of want to retell that one day just because it was so scary, like the New Orleans aunt.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one. That one was scary. I forgot that was a Reddit story. For some reason, I thought that was a listener.
It wasn't Reddit. I just
Because it
found
was
it
very.
online.
Oh, yeah. It was very early on, so we didn't even have listeners yet.
But with that being said, our tea today was sent in by Padre. Thank you, Padre. It is, what is Yorkshire tea?
Yorkshire Gold, I believe.
Yorkshire Gold.
It'll be in the description.
And I've got a digestive little biscuit with it.
Also sent by Padre.
Yes.
Not our father, a person that goes by Padre.
Yes,
from the Patreon.
A fellow ghostie named Padre.
Yes. So shout out. We're excited to try it, and I'm excited to get in these stories. But before we do, I had a question. I proposed this idea to Macy, and she told me we would need to ask you guys first. So here I am asking. Would y'all be okay if we did a themed Reddit story read for the month of August on Mondays? And we'll still do our regular listener stories on Fridays. But could we do, if it's okay with the council, on Mondays in August, we do there's a Ouija board Reddit Monday, there's a demons Reddit Monday, there's a sleep paralysis Reddit Monday. I don't know. I just want a good old Reddit story campfire to get us ready because September, October, that's when the heavy hitters, the scary, like the spooky season. So I don't know. I thought it would be a fun way to get us there,
like our preamble into spooky season.
But if you hate it and you don't want to, also say I hate it and I don't want to, and I will take that with a like on the YouTube or the Spotify, and we'll just
go from there.
That's fine. That's fine too.
I think it could be fun. A lot of fun, actually.
Yeah. But if you think the Reddit stories are oversaturated, I get it.
Let us know.
And I'll take the criticism. But I just thought it would be fun, so I wanted to ask.
Okay. Are you ready?
I am. All right. Hope y'all are ready. Let's go.
That is the perfect, nice little snack.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty good. The tea's good. The tea just it's like a good old black tea. And I love that.
And with the digestive, it was just like a great little pick-me-up.
Yeah, a little treat for the day.
Yes.
I liked it. Thank you.
So shout out once again, Padre. That was a really good choice. Okay, well, we'll get started with story number 1. I've only ever used it once, and that was when I was 14 years old and thought I knew everything. I didn't. I wish I knew then what I know now, because I'd never have used it. The following is not scary per se, but it's my only experience, so here goes. My BFF decided she wanted to try it, so we climbed into her closet, shut the door, lit a candle, and brought the board out. We decided we'd ask it something benign, like who we would marry when we grew up. We went through the whole ritual, and my first letter was the letter J. I got excited, as only dumb 14-year-olds can get, because at that time, I had a huge crush on a guy in my school whose name was John. I asked it for the first letter of his last name, because John's was Anderson. I was mad when the board gave me the letter H. I screamed no at the board and didn't want to play anymore, so we closed it out. Fast forward 12 years, and I met a great guy whom I dated for a year before we got engaged, then married. We've been married for over 40 years now. His name is John Hackman.
Aww.
I'd completely forgotten about the board and its answer until my bachelorette party when my former BFF whispered to me, "The board was right." And I said, "What board? What are you talking about?" And she said, "The Ouija board, remember? JH.
Oh, I love it.
I gasped and said softly, "Oh my gosh, it was right after all." I still find it disturbing that a piece of mass production plywood with markings could have predicted my marriage, and decided that there must be forces stronger than what a simple game board should be allowed to have. So I'm glad that way back then I decided to never touch such a thing again, and I haven't. And then there was a comment underneath this one. I had almost this exact thing happen to me too. I had a huge crush on this neighborhood boy, Brian. I was 13 and had a sleepover at my best friend's house. We asked the board who I would marry, and I remember trying to push it towards the letter B to start spelling his name. But instead, it spelled out my husband's first name.
Oh my gosh.
I got mad at my friend because I was certain she had spelled that name on purpose, and I was mad because we didn't even go to school with anyone with the same first name. I apparently went home the next morning and wrote about it and how angry I was in my dear diary. Fast forward 20 years, and I was cleaning out some old boxes in our attic, and it turns out I forgot I had kept those silly diaries. I sat there skimming through all the childish drama I wrote about until I read that entry, and I instantly got goosebumps.
Okay, I actually love that so much, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I like that we're easing into it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have a feeling there's going to be some scary ones, but
Mm-hmm.
that was so cute.
I thought it was cute too. We don't come across very many like really good Ouija board stories, and when I saw that one, I was like, okay, I have to bring this to the council.
The council.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So where are you at still? You wouldn't do one?
No.
Never?
No.
Also,
Forces I don't want to mess with.
as I'm looking at you, I'm realizing we didn't address, we're
Oh, yeah.
wearing the same hoodie,
On
and
accident.
it was totally on accident. She showed up to my house, and I was just kind of like, Spider-Man,
Spider-Man.
like,
mm-hmm.
what are you doing? But I decided to keep it on anyway, even though I could change. I just thought it was a cute coincidence because these are from listeners. So,
Yeah. Shout out. Thank
anyways,
you.
just wanted to throw that out there.
Story number 2. Didn't close the session properly and ended up being spiritually attacked for 3 days by a presence until I had my very religious grandma say some prayers for me, and I never touched one again.
Oh my gosh.
And that's where they left it. Until someone commented like,
Hello?
would you mind sharing what your experience was?
Yeah.
I experienced night terrors, a feeling of impending doom, and the strangest part for me that sealed the deal was the bugs that would fall from nowhere and land on me. About 20 to 30 times each day for those 3 days. Every bug was different, ranging from beetles to spiders. One even fell on me while I was driving in my car. It was absolutely terrifying and bizarre. I knew it was demonic because I would wake up every day for those 3 days with red marks on my body that I could not recreate. I had red fingerprints and a palm mark on my neck one day. Another day I had a big red line from the top of my spine to the bottom with 3 red scratch marks on each side of the line that were congruent with each other, like I'd been clawed at the bottom of my back. These marks would disappear after about an hour of waking up. I read online that things that come in threes were a mocking of the Holy Trinity. After this, I recited Michael's prayer 3 times, holding hands with my girlfriend, and told my grandma, who promised she would say a big prayer for me. The next day, everything was back to normal. No more marks, dreams, or bugs. I should mention, I was also drinking with 2 friends the night we played Ouija. I found out that alcohol and drugs lower your spirit force field, or whatever you want to call it. It makes it much easier for evil entities to latch onto you. Before this, I never believed in God or anything like that, and after I've seen good and evil work with my own eyes, I'm a believer. I chose Christianity because if evil uses the Holy Trinity mocking to gain power, it made the most sense to me that there must be something to that.
Interesting. I never would have thought of it that way. But the bug thing gave me a physical reaction.
I saw you moving around over there.
I got so physically uncomfortable in my own body. I started itching. I do not like that at all.
At first, when I read that, I was like, okay, I mean, maybe you live in a wooded area or something, you're getting bugs, whatever. 20 to 30
20 to 30.
times a day getting bugs dropped onto your body from nowhere in the middle of your car.
That's way too many. 1 is too many for me personally.
I personally agree.
But 20 to 30, that's horrifying.
Especially if it's like a big fear of yours and they're using that fear against you, you know?
Yep.
Story number 3. I played with Ouija boards from a very young age. I owned my first set of tarot cards when I was 7 and currently own probably 15 different decks and types. I love paranormal phenomenon and always knew there was more to life than what I knew or had been told by family and societal impacts. It was always a knowing I couldn't explain or have proof to necessarily back up to all the scientifically inclined naysayers. One Ouija board story stands out more than all the others. When I was probably about 17, a group of friends and I decided to go to a graveyard around Halloween to have a little fun. I was accompanied by a few friends who thought Ouija boards were complete hocus pocus, did not remotely believe in ghosts, spirits, or anything not scientifically proven. 3 of us, one including me, sat in a circle with the board on our laps. I always believed you needed to be touching one another for energy to flow properly and transmit into the pointer for it to move. It began spelling out names, answers, etc. to things we were asking. One of you is just moving the thing to letters or answers you want it to say. It's complete BS, my friend said. I said, okay, maybe. I mean, I can't speak for these two, but I know I'm not moving it. Tell you what, why don't we ask it a specific question that all 3 of us do not know the answer to, and that can be checked? They all agreed, so we were trying to think of a good question we could look up after if it gave us an answer. I know, none of us have been to this graveyard before, right? Why don't we pick a tombstone? They all agreed. Okay, randomly, let's say 4th row down, I don't know, 6th in, and I pointed in the general direction in the distance. Okay, spirit, if we are really talking to a spirit, tell us the name of the tombstone. 4th row down, 6th in. It began moving to numbers. It spelt out something like 1924. Yeah, okay, so it gives numbers. Told you, it's BS. One of you's moving it. We need the name of the spirit. The name of the person on the tombstone. 4th row down, 6th in. So it spells out the name. W-I-L-L. Okay, let's go see. So we get up and we walk over to the tombstone that we picked. I kid you not, the name on the tombstone was William, and he passed away in 1924.
I knew it.
It was bone-chilling. My friends went wild, then fell silent. We all stared at the tombstone and each other in disbelief. That's impossible, my non-believer friend said. He was scared. I could tell. Even I was a little scared, I'm not going to lie. Immediately, they wanted to pack up and leave. They half ran back to the car and didn't look back. They never wanted to do this again, but never told me again they thought Ouija boards were a bunch of BS. To this day, they deny that experience ever happened. They've erased it from their minds. I believe out of fear, but it happened. It was very real, and it happened.
Oh, I
Chills.
believe you. I believe this random Reddit user. That is
I
so
know.
spooky. Okay, if you were one of the skeptical friends, would you believe that this was real? Or do you think you would go like, okay, no, believer friend, you already went through this whole cemetery and you knew who he was and you did this. What would your brain tell you?
Maybe, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because I have a really horrible memory. There's no
Yeah.
way I would remember 6th row in, 4th down. His name is Will, and he died in 1924. I don't know.
I don't
Personally,
know.
wouldn't believe in or wouldn't remember any of that.
True.
But I don't know if people have good memory. Maybe I would have to try and tell myself something to come up with the answer.
Yeah.
Though William is a pretty good guess if you're gonna, Will is a common name,
I would guess-
and maybe that section of the cemetery had a lot of deaths from the 20s, 30s or something.
I guess, but if I was going to say a generic name for like an older cemetery, I would guess like John.
Would you?
Yeah, just like the most basic name. I wouldn't think Will. Because
I would.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's spooky and I think it really was talking to them.
Oh,
But-
do I believe? Yeah, but if I were to get in the mind of a skeptic, I don't know.
Yeah, true.
We'll move on to story number 4. I've had a few bad experiences with the Ouija board in my time. I vowed I'd never do it again. When I was about 23, I was staying with a friend whose house was most definitely haunted, especially the kitchen, which was right under my room. I heard all sorts of noises coming from down there at night when I knew she was asleep, and her 3-year-old was in the room next to mine with a baby gate on it. The first time anything happened, it wasn't a true Ouija. In fact, we used candles to communicate instead of a board with just yes and no answers. There was just me and my friend. The other 2 were in the kitchen with the door shut, and her son was asleep in bed upstairs. You could not get upstairs without coming through the room that we were in. We started asking questions, and eventually we were getting answers. Then we asked if this was a friend that had died, and if it was, could they make all the candles move? We had 2 in the middle of the table and 8 around the outside. As soon as we said it, there was like a swirl of air around us, and each candle, in turn, flickered. Up to date, it's the most unexplainable night to happen to me. So then I stared at one of the flames and asked if the person who was there could put it out. Neither of us were near the candle. I asked to be blown out. Then it just started getting dimmer and dimmer and poof, it went out. We were both excited, but a bit creeped out at the same time. Then there was a huge bang from upstairs. My friend went up to check, thinking her son had fallen out of bed. She came back down, face white, saying he was fast asleep, but a load of books from his box were scattered all over the room. They hadn't been when she put him to bed. Then the scariest thing ever happened. There was another loud thud upstairs, and then very loud thumping footsteps down the stairs, and the handle on the door at the bottom started rattling. Only for a few seconds. I opened the door, and no one was there. Then, just to top off the night, my phone was on top of the TV, which was off. It was 2 a.m. at this point, and it started ringing. I wondered who could be calling me at 2 a.m. unless it was emergency. I got up to get my phone, and the number on display said 000 000
Oh my God.
Well, that was it. I lost it. I've spent the night in haunted houses, derelict mental hospitals, etc., but this night scared the poop out of me. When I answered, it was just static, and then it cut off.
If there's one thing I've learned from Ghosties, it's that if you hear knocking, don't open the door. Because you're just letting the thing in. If
My
it's not
thought,
already
though,
in. You know?
Well, first of all, it's inside the house, because it said it was coming down the stairs and at the door.
I know, but why? If there was knocking.
And the sun's up there. You have to open the door eventually to get up there, you know?
Oh, I don't know. Wait, it was the door leading into the sun's room? I thought it was the door leading outside. Because they had already checked on the sun.
There was another loud thud upstairs, and then very loud thumping footsteps down the stairs, and the handle on the door at the bottom started rattling.
Yeah, so the handle at the door at the bottom of the stairs. The sun is
They're downstairs.
upstairs.
Yes, they're downstairs, and the sun's upstairs.
Uh-huh.
And the footsteps were coming down the stairs from the sun's room.
Yeah. And then you heard
And the door rattled.
at the bottom of the stairs.
Yes. What I'm saying is they would have to go up there to check on the sun anyway if there were footsteps walking around. Yes?
I don't know. I envisioned and I assumed it was like there's a door at the bottom of the stairs, and it was because they had already checked on the sun.
So you're saying just let it be. Like you don't go up there if you hear footsteps walking around and your child is asleep.
I don't know. I need a diagram of the house to fully understand the situation. I don't know. Either way, if there's knocking on the door and I'm not expecting someone, I'm not opening it.
Okay.
Ever.
Okay. Moving on to story number 5. In junior high, my friend Karen invited myself and 3 other female friends to a sleepover at her dad's house. There were 5 of us, and one was a very close friend of mine. We're still friends, in fact. We were in Karen's room downstairs. Karen had a Ouija board and had used it in the past. The rest of us had never seen one. Karen was happy to play and told us it was no big deal. The rumors of Ouija boards being dangerous were not true. She assured us nothing bad had ever happened to her from playing with it. We began the game, and probably 30 to 40 minutes in, the board rose a few inches from the floor. We all kind of freaked out, laughing, and asked who's holding the board. At nearly the same time, we all looked beneath the board to see if one of us was holding on to it, and no one was. We were scared. Karen freaked out. We were yelling. We didn't want to play with it anymore, that this wasn't funny. She told us to calm down and be quiet. We still had our fingers on the board, and somehow it was lowered back down. Karen returned the board to the game closet in the hallway. I still don't know how the board rose or lowered down. Never again.
That's like The Craft.
Yeah.
When they're floating.
The light as feather.
Dude, I always used to try to do that. Me and my friends tried to do the craft, like light as a feather, stiff as a board thing, and it never worked.
I never tried that.
I did.
I don't think I did. Maybe I did, but it had to have been a long time ago.
It never worked, and I always thought like, oh yeah, I can do this. Like it's gonna be a thing, and it never was.
Aw.
The Ouija board thing though, I am glad I never played with one, but like there's a part of me that wants to have a story, that wants to say,
really?
Oh, I played with one time and either nothing happened or something mildly frightening happened. Not scary.
I'm shocked that you would like this.
Like
have liked this.
I want to.
Do you want to play with one?
I want to touch it and I want to feel it for myself, like how it moves, because there's a tiny little part of me that is still like thinking like, come on now. Yeah. Someone's pushing it, someone's lying, someone's faking it. But after hearing so many stories and like our listeners' stories, like I believe our listeners, y'all could tell me anything and I'll be like, yeah, that's probably true. So I don't know. I want to see it for myself.
Not me. I asked my husband, Jake, if he had ever played, and he was like, oh yeah. And I was like, anything ever happened? He was like, yeah, I was the one pushing it.
Exactly.
Like, of course.
Exactly. And that's why I'm like, Because do people get so hyped up and so caught up in the moment that they don't even realize that they're pushing it, you know?
There is, we talked about this in
Yeah.
the Ouija board episode, that I can't remember what the word is, but basically it's like automatic movements of
Yes.
your brain's automatically doing it. But I don't
But
know.
then there's even the sweet stories where people will learn something from beyond the grave that the
Yeah.
person like died and couldn't tell them, and it's like there's no way.
Yeah, I
you
read a
knew
story about
this.
one where
The grandpa and the stuff in his nightstand.
in his nightstand. Yeah, did we read it on here?
We did because
Okay.
yeah, I don't remember if it was a listener or if it was just an internet story. It's somewhere in the Ghosties catalog of stories, and yeah,
Okay.
it was like someone's grandpa had, what was it?
I don't know. I'm debating on whether I read it or I listened to it somewhere else.
No, it was here. I think it was here. But either way, either way, when I hear the sweet ones and the ones that are like unexplainable, I can't help but think
There's
maybe
something there. Yeah.
yes.
No,
I
I
don't know.
I fully believe it.
I want
Maybe
to have
not
an
every
experience.
experience, and I don't want to.
Yeah.
Our next story. One time, many years ago, my friends and I decided we would head into the forest and try to actually summon something on purpose using the Ouija board. That was the last time I ever used one, because at one point, I was the only one touching the eye at all, and it was still moving. Even though I put so much of my weight on it that the eye started cutting grooves into the board itself. It was saying things like I was food and I was going to be eaten, and I decided that was enough and I wouldn't be doing that again.
Okay, never mind.
I knew that one was coming up next, and when you said just I want to feel how it moves, I was like, oh.
No, because if it's moving with such force that I can't even make it stop, no, I'm
Yeah.
good.
That's scary.
That's really horrifying.
Story number 7. When I was in college, my friends lived in an old carriage house. Her apartment was on the second floor. It was very small, basically one bedroom and a tiny kitchen and bathroom. We were using the Ouija board, and the feeling in the room started to feel intense and heavy. The board spelled out murder, and a tall mirror that had been leaning against the wall cracked down the center. Needless to say, we went running out of there and slept in my dorm room that night. After that, my friend did not want to stay there alone, so she talked another friend into staying with her until the semester ended, and she gave that apartment up.
Absolutely. But I need more information on that one. I need this person to tell us if they, random Redditor, if you're out there, if you can hear me, tell us if you did the research on the house, please.
I want to know why the mirror cracked. These mirrors are thought to be portals.
Mm-hmm.
Was there something trying to come through?
That's
was
what I
there
was gonna
some kind
say.
of intense force happening with the mirror?
I guess we'll never know, man. I don't know.
Story number 8. I was 9 or 10 and talked my dad into buying a Ouija board and played it by myself in my room several nights. I grew up in an abusive home, so I rarely slept. I used to read a lot of witchcraft and dream books. It became in touch with my spirituality, and oftentimes I would be awake for days at a time. Never diagnosed with insomnia because my mother rarely had me go to the doctors, and the dentist I remember maybe going once. Anyways, I remember playing the Ouija board one night, and to this day, I don't know if I was sleepwalking or dreaming, but I remember sitting up and walking towards my bedroom door. I heard someone calling my name from the hallway. At that time, I lived in an apartment with my mother and her husband and his relatives. It was a 3-bedroom, and my room was the first room on the right. From my bedroom to the left was the living room, kitchen, and dining area, and to the right were the other 2 bedrooms and a bathroom that connected from the hallway to my room. Upon opening my door, the hallway was dark. I looked to my left, and the couch was facing my direction. This particular couch sat elsewhere in the living room, but this night it was facing the hallway. I slowly walked towards it. There was a shadowy figure on it and 2 other figures on either side of the couch. I kept hearing my name whispered. The closer I got, the better I could make the shadowy figure. There was a large window in the living room, and upon walking closer to the couch, the moonlight made it easier to see that the shadowy figure was a man. He was dressed in a red and black tuxedo, and 2 women were on each side. He had dark hair and a scary glare. They were just staring at me as I walked closer. I ran back into my room and laid under my sheets and on my bed. The next morning, I took the Ouija out and threw it away in the dumpster outside the apartment building. I went along my day as usual and slept hard. I was awake for several days. The next day, I woke up in the living room on the same couch with the Ouija board beside me on the floor. To this day, I have not touched another one. At times, I think back to that night. That man I saw is not familiar. I've convinced myself it was probably the devil. Dream or not, it still creeps me out.
Oh, don't like that. And also, how did it get back? We've heard a lot of stories of that happening, and I don't like that at all. Because if you can't get rid of it, then what?
I know. I was going to say that too. Like, there have been so many stories of people trying to get Ouija boards that aren't ready to be rid of,
Mm-hmm.
and they end up back somehow, some way.
That's really horrifying.
If you've tried to quit vaping or smoking and keep ending up right back where you started, you need to hear about Fume. You're not the problem. How you're trying to quit is. See, nicotine products like pouches, patches, and gum only deal with the chemical side, keeping you wanting more nicotine. And going cold turkey leaves you white-knuckling every craving on willpower alone. The real problem is that vaping was never just about nicotine. It's a habit. And that's why Fume works. Fume is a flavored air device that gives your hands, mouth, and brain something better to reach for when those cravings hit. There is no nicotine, no vapor, and no batteries. It works as a distraction from those cravings when willpower alone isn't enough. They have more than 10 interchangeable flavors that I know you'll enjoy, like classic peppermint, crisp mint, or spearmint ice if you're needing something a little stronger. They also have fruity flavors if that's what you prefer, like raspberry, or my personal favorite that you cannot forget, mango. And the flavors aren't as strong as a vape, and that's the whole point. It's something you can draw on all day without all the negative aspects that come along with vaping. The best part about the Fume are all of the fidget functions. It's built for quality, like a real object and not just a gadget. And you can tell with every click and twist, it's a satisfying way to occupy your hands and mouth when those cravings start to hit. I know I keep one on my desk and constantly reaching for it. Over 1 million people have already used Fume to quit differently. Join them today and grab a journey pack, plus get a free gift with purchase when using our code Ghosties. Addiction is really good at saying later. Don't let it. Head to tryfume.com, that's TRYFUM.com, and use code Ghosties for a free gift with your first purchase. Thank you, Fume, for sponsoring this episode.
Story number 9 was titled Him, Why I Stopped Touching Ouija Boards After Grade 9. Back in grade 8 and 9, I was obsessed with the paranormal. I had a girlfriend at the time who was really into Wicca, and she was the one who got me into all of this. Before long, we were playing with a Ouija board every single day. After about a month of using it regularly, it started identifying itself the same way every time. We'd ask, "Who are we speaking with?" And the reply was always, "Him." At first, we weren't really scared, we were just kids, but him eventually turned hostile. The board started swearing and telling us to F off. I got weirdly angry about it one day and just flipped the board off the table mid-session. I stopped playing for a bit after that. But things didn't stop. A few weeks later, I was working the night shift at Walmart stocking shelves. Out of nowhere, I heard a whisper. Just my name. I thought I imagined it, but then it happened again, louder. I checked the next aisle to see if someone was messing with me, but no one was there. When the third whisper came, it was loud enough that I actually yelled out, "Hello? Who's calling my name?" No response. About 40 seconds later, a coworker walked up to me. She looked shaken. She asked if I had heard my name being called 3 times. When I said yeah, she told me she was a medium and that it was a sign someone in my family was going to die. I thought it was kind of weird for her to come up and, with a full confidence, call herself a medium. I'm into the paranormal, but I reserve skepticism. So I tried to keep the conversation regular and started talking about my plans for the future. She interrupted me mid-sentence, looking right at me. "Every time you talk about your future, I can hear something snickering, like something negative. It's attached to you.
Oh no.
It's trying to ruin your plans." She had no idea about the board. I felt the blood drain from my face as I instantly connected that with him. I went home after my shift and got into bed, only to be woken up by the house phone. I heard my mom in the hall saying, "Oh no, that's terrible. I'm so sorry." Adrenaline surged through me. Before she even hung up, I was downstairs asking what happened. She told me someone in our family, someone I didn't really have a relationship with, had just died.
Oh my god.
I was horrified, but the Walmart experience honestly made me way more intrigued. Even though it was super freaky, having it all confirmed like that just made me want to push it further. I invited my best friend and girlfriend over to play in my parents' basement. This was the last time I played for several years. It was midday and no one was home. We've been playing for 20 minutes. Suddenly, the 3 of us started randomly smelling breakfast sausage frying. It was unmistakable and completely out of place. We asked the board if it was him, and it said yes. My parents came home later and made us supper. We paused to eat and then went right back to the basement to play. We were really pushing it now, asking the board to prove it was there. We were asking it to touch us, and we were moving around the room trying to feel cold spots. Eventually, my girlfriend and I agreed to take it a step further, and I asked the board if it would possess her. The
What?
planchette moved faster than I'd ever seen. YES. Then it began a countdown. 3, 2, 1. The bulb over our heads started to buzz, then flicker, and then it just went out. We were in complete darkness. I screamed at the top of my lungs and ran upstairs. As I got to the living room where my dad was watching TV, I saw the sky through the big window. Flash bright white. The transformer across the street had blown. I don't know how that works, but in my mind, the transformer blowing should be the cause of the light going out.
Mm-hmm.
But the light bulb above us buzzed and died first, and then, after we'd already gone upstairs, the transformer went. My buddy was still downstairs swearing because he'd tried to run but slammed into a wall in the dark. In the heightened scare of the moment and trying to explain the chaos to my parents, I kind of forgot about my girlfriend. But about 20 seconds later, she casually walked up the stairs. She looked like she had no idea why there was any commotion. There wasn't 1 ounce of fear in her. She walked past me, and in a voice that was several octaves deeper than her own, she muttered something chilling right at me. I said, "What?" And she just looked at me and said, "What?" in her normal voice, acting like she hadn't said a word. Then she did the exact same thing to my buddy. I told her she needed to go home. She lived around the block, and she walked home. My buddy and I, who I'm still friends with today, pretty much slept with the lights on for a month, and I actually ran away from home that night because I was so freaked out. My parents told me later that it was just a coincidence. Wind blew a branch into it. I accepted that. However, around 10 years ago at a family function, it came up. They told me they just said coincidence to calm me down, and that there was no wind that night.
What became of the girlfriend?
There was a comment, and eventually, he and the girlfriend broke up, and he doesn't know where she went or what she's doing with her life now.
And also, why would he say like, "Hey, can you possess my girlfriend?" Haha.
She agreed.
Oh my.
They agreed together.
I'd be like, "No, how about you do it?
I know.
You volunteer. Don't volunteer me."
I agree.
And is she just living with this attachment now?
I
or-
really hope not.
Oof.
If she was into the spirituality things, like maybe she knew how to help herself or knew someone who could help her, I really hope. That's my
I hope
that's like my
so.
only hope out of this.
Yeah, me too. I really did not like how that ended. I thought we were going to get some kind of resolution.
No,
That really sucks.
it was sickening. On to our next story. Something has been tormenting me since I played with the Ouija board. I think something's following me, and I don't know what to do. When I, female 19, was 14, I was sent to a boarding school a couple hours away from my house. I actually really enjoyed it, and I thought living in a house full of my best friends was the best thing ever. I spent about 3 years there. When I was 15, in year 10, I stayed in one of our 4 dorms in the house, being D dorm. Now, there was a rumor that D dorm was haunted because of lights that would flicker and things of that sort, but nothing ever remotely extreme, and frankly, I still didn't believe any sort of paranormal activity, so the rumors went completely over my head, my friends alike. One day, though, I overheard a group of friends doing something in the room next to me. The walls between rooms didn't reach the ceiling, and so you could hear everything through the dorm most of the time. I went to investigate what my friends were doing and found that one of my best friends, Brittany, had brought a Ouija board along with her and was playing it with a group of our friends. I was somewhat fascinated since I'd heard about it when I was really young, but never actually had the opportunity arise to see one in action. So, there I am, watching and bantering with my friends as they played it, along with my friend Jess, who was spelling out on the notes of her phone each thing that the board was saying. The girls were asking it things like their birthdays, things like that. At one point, the girls asked me to get a student that none of us knew, and so I went and invited one of the Chinese exchange students to come into the room. This was someone none of us had spoken to. The girls asked the board her birthday, and were pretty shocked when the board gave them a birthday which the student confirmed as hers, since none of us had been friends with her. After that, everyone decided to stop playing. That is, everyone except for Brittany, who invited me to play it with her. God, I wish I never touched that thing, but I agreed, and so we continued to play with it. Just Brittany and I in the room, along with Jess, who was still writing out the letters. I was the one orchestrating the session, asking simple questions like, "Is anything here with us? Give us a sign if you're here." After receiving a yes, but no spooky sign, I asked the entity what its name was, to which the planchette began to move back and forth. Z-O.
Oh.
Z-O. 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 Brittany and I had no idea what this meant at the time, so we weren't exactly moved by it. That is until Jess Googled it, and without telling us what came up, ordered us to stop playing at that moment.
Yep.
We took our hands off and didn't say goodbye. Jess revealed her phone screen to us, and to our shock, it was a reference to the name of a supposed demon, which gained notoriety lurking on Ouija boards, and had even had a movie made about it. We were creeped out, but nothing too crazy. Every night for the following 3 weeks, Brittany and I both woke up every single night at 3 a.m. feeling strange, and were both having horrific nightmares. This continued for exactly 3 weeks, and started and stopped for us both on the same days. After the nightmare stopped, I didn't pay much mind to what had happened, as demonic/energetic attachment was the last thing on my mind really, and just put the strange dreams and awakenings to anything else subconsciously, I guess. For the following year, her and I both didn't experience anything out of the normal. That is, nothing I registered as strange anyway. After a year, I moved away to Europe, and this is where the activity peaked. We moved into a modern but old house. At first, nothing seemed out of the ordinary with the house, but pretty quickly I began feeling strange, occasionally feeling watched pretty intensely, things moving on their own in front of me, seeing shadows in the corner of my eye, doors slamming, the attic lights switching on and off when the door was locked, hearing knocks from the attic, feeling a presence go from the room I was in into the stuffed bear next to me, extremely intensely. My grandma's old wind-up music box playing on its own, just an all-around feeling of something being off. In general, the activity would only happen when I was alone, and I would tell my family, but they would just brush it off as all in my head, other than my sister, who also told me she felt weird in that house. That is until one day when my mom called me into her room to show me one of her coat hangers swinging back and forth wildly. This opened her mind ever so slightly, but she continued to try and brush it off. As time went on, the activity became more and more intense. Looking back, there was actually some really freaky things going on in that place. I recall one time I was home alone for a few weeks where I was sitting on my bed watching TV at around 2 in the morning when I felt something sit on the end of my bed. The blankets moved and there was an impression where the weight had come onto it. On top of this, I could feel something staring straight at me. One of the most unsettling things that happened to me in that house, though, was an occasion where my big sister, who is my best friend, and I were hanging out in her room where we always spent time together. When you walk into the room, directly opposite the door, leaning against the far wall, was a large full-body mirror that we would use to look at our outfits, rarely ever getting close enough to touch, and always being able to see any marks on it, since it was the first thing you'd see when you'd enter the room. One night, her and I were on her bed when she got up to go to the bathroom. Upon re-entering the room, my sister asked me if I had touched the mirror. I said no, and my sister went pale and pointed at the mirror. When I saw it, my blood ran cold. Right on the mirror was the biggest handprint I had ever seen. This thing was roughly 35 centimeters long, and it was intact. You could see the marks of each joint on the finger, and it was clearly not dragged or out there earlier, because as I said, it's the first thing you see when you enter the room. I just about shat myself. We called for my mom to look at it, and she attempted to tell us that it was a dragged print from maybe an attempt to move the mirror, a claim we heavily contested. Another disturbing occurrence was a time where I had left an unfinished painting sitting vertically in my room. However, the face of the girl in my painting was horizontal. When I woke up, the painting had very clear tears running down the girl's face horizontally. I also had visions, a kind of experience once when I was drifting off to sleep where I saw multiple, maybe 7 or 8, very demonic or spooky looking faces staring at me while I had my eyes closed. I never experienced anything similar before or after that, but I can still see the faces if I think of them. Many unexplainable things happened over the years we lived in that house, and needless to say, it was a relief and a half to move out, and to another country at that. For about 3 weeks after we moved out of the house, the strange feelings and occurrences subsided. That is until one night when I woke up, wide awake, around 5 a.m. with a very intense feeling of dread. I was able to get back to sleep, but the following night my sister and I were sleeping in the same bed, and I had an extremely vivid dream of watching myself and my sister sleeping from the perspective of something that was in the top left corner of my room. Needless to say, I was pretty unsettled at the thought that this entity had maybe followed me. I don't know if it came from the board or if it came from the house, but recently it's getting worse, and it's getting worse quickly. I was at a girlfriend's house about a month ago with her and 3 dudes when I started talking about it. Upon talking about it, all doors in the house slammed, except for one, the bathroom door, which was in view of all of us. which began to open and close wildly. This scared me so badly, and Sarah could tell, so she locked the door and we decided to stop talking about it. And this is where things begin to get a little crazier, but I swear I'm not crazy. At least I'm pretty grounded and in touch with reality, and I really did experience this. It was the same night, and I had gone to sleep downstairs around 1:40 a.m. after a night of drinking and smoking, so I was pretty ready to sleep and should have had little issue with sleeping well. I woke up at around 3:30 a.m., feeling very, very uncomfortable. Sarah had actually told me the previous owner of the house had died in the room above me, which didn't help. I tried and tried to get back to sleep, but I couldn't. Every time I was about to drift off into sleep, it was like something jerked me awake. This was until about 6 in the morning, where I was trying to get to sleep when I began to hear a sound which can be compared to the sound of rushing water or TV static in my left ear. This went on for about 3 seconds until the sound became background sound to a somewhat raspy whisper-like voice, which told me to come, come, come. This experience really freaked me out, and the occurrences have been getting worse and worse. Rather than feeling watched only at home or when I'm alone, it's begun to happen when I'm in public, in the car, during the day and at night. I've also been seeing shadowy figures in my peripheral vision multiple times a day. I've also had the sensation of being touched by something when I'm alone at night, either on my phone in bed or trying to sleep. The feeling is like kind of staticky, electric pins and needles-ish feeling, but it's very clear. I have felt it on my arms, my hands, my thighs. I've felt it on my backside too. This thing will move things ever so slightly when I look at them if I'm with people, or do things like make lights go off as I look at them when I'm with people, which I've assumed is it subtly making its presence known to me. About 2 weeks ago, I had a dream where I was getting into the car and I saw the same handprint from my mirror, only a lot bigger, on the seat. Then it grabbed me by the throat and I woke up.
Oh, I forgot this was a dream for a second.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
I guess I should mention I've had somewhat of bad luck after moving into the original house too, with my very tight-knit family completely falling apart, being assaulted on 2 occasions, and the death of a friend. I don't know if these have anything to do with it, but I guess it's worth mentioning. I know I might sound crazy, but I really just don't know what to do at this point. It's freaking me out, and I want whatever it is to stay far away from me for good, and I don't know where to turn for help. I'm not religious, but tomorrow I plan on going to a church to speak to anyone I can about it. If you've read this far, thank you, and thank you to anyone that can give me any kind of advice on what to do.
Were people giving advice?
There were a few people mentioning
I-
something. I should have gone to their account, though. I didn't see if they posted about it again.
I hope so. And we're not even supposed to say the name of that demon
No,
thing,
that's
right?
why I didn't. Yeah.
Okay, because you spelled it, but people say you shouldn't even say it out loud, right?
A lot of people say you shouldn't say any name of any demon out loud because
Yeah.
it can invoke something.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
But specifically that one, I know I've never heard you say it out loud.
I don't know if I have or not.
You've always just spelled it for me.
Yeah, I don't know, something spooky about it.
It's really spooky, and every time someone's encountered that or said that they have, it's always like rapidly spelling it, and then things go really bad.
Yeah. Some say that if the board spells that out, just going back and forth to the same letters, or if it's going in a figure 8,
Yeah.
then something's trying to break out of the board, is
Yeah.
the legend.
Whew.
Do you know how it's said?
Hmm?
It's a long O sound. O.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Z-O.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to say it out loud.
No,
and
no,
you
no,
know
don't.
what? I don't need to experience this for myself, actually.
I thought you were going a little crazy. Like that first story was sweet and cool and all, but maybe.
I forget about the like demonic aspect of it, and I kind of was, getting caught up in like, well, it's just like spirits talking to you.
If you could guarantee that you're
Hopefully.
only speaking to spirits, then maybe.
But there's no guarantee.
Like I said, and I'll reach back for this all the time. It was like Father Amorth, the exorcist from Rome, said,
Mhm.
or maybe it was one of the exorcists that I've read about, said that you can reach out into the darkness, but you never know what's going to be out there. It's
Yeah.
dark. You don't know what's going to reach back,
And I'll just keep my hand over here to myself.
Okay.
So I don't think I need to reach out.
Probably a good idea.
Oh, that's so spooky.
All right, well, we have a few more stories. Ouija board / my scariest paranormal experience. And trigger warning for mentions of depression, suicidal thoughts, and a car accident is what they put on in this
Oh.
particular story.
Okay.
A few years ago, my sister and I decided to play with a Ouija board. We did not have one, so we made one out of cardboard, painted it, and put it on the radiator to dry. Then we went downstairs to eat and chat without thinking much about it. My sister had tried it with her friends before and it never worked, so she was skeptical. I was just curious. It is important to mention that my sister and I have always been sensitive to paranormal things. In my house we lived in before, we were so used to strange activity that we didn't even get scared when objects moved on their own. When we went back to check on the board, things got strange. The Ouija board was placed perfectly in the middle of the carpet, as if it was waiting for us to play. We would not believe it, but convinced ourselves it must have fallen off the radiator. We didn't even have a planchette, so we grabbed a shot glass and used that. At first, we were joking around with our fingers on it, laughing and not expecting anything. Then it began to move. It started very slowly and shaky. I don't even remember what we asked, but the longer our fingers stayed on it, the faster it moved. Eventually, it moved so quickly that our fingers slipped off and the shot glass tipped over. Instead of being scared, we were excited. We kept asking questions about our boyfriends, friends, and silly things. At one point, we asked for a name, and it spelled potato. We laughed, but continued. We started asking where it was in the room, and it answered with things like, behind you. When we asked who, it spelled my name. I began to feel uneasy, but we kept playing. Days passed, and we became addicted. It was all we thought about. Sometimes we would find the shot glass sitting on the table as if it was waiting for us. We listened to that call and played again and again. Then things got darker. The board kept spelling my name and saying it loved me. It said it wanted me and was waiting for me. It even said it wanted me to die. I was scared, but we couldn't stop. One day, it said it hated my boyfriend. And that same day, he got into a car accident. It was minor, but still unsettling. Later that night, he borrowed his mom's car to drive over to see me. He lived 2 hours away, and his car broke down in the middle of a forested road at 3 a.m. He was terrified, and the whole situation felt more than just coincidental. My belongings began disappearing. When we asked the board about it, it told us exactly where they were. The answers were always strange places like mirror room, which is the storage room we never used. When we went to those places, the things were actually there too. Soon after, we began hearing 3 knocks at our door every night. I suddenly became depressed and suicidal for no reason. Things grew so bad that we went to see a psychic for help. She told us to burn the board and bury it. We followed her instructions, but the same day we created another board on a piece of paper with scribbled letters. We were addicted like it was a drug. It took us 6 months to stop and to clear the spirit out of the house. And during that time, I broke up with my boyfriend and promised myself I would never touch a Ouija board again. The story might sound unbelievable, but it is true. If someone else told me, I probably wouldn't believe it either. But I've been there, and I would never touch it again.
Why did it want them dead?
I don't know.
That's
There
so
are stories of,
scary.
what was it, like Jen falling in love with people?
Oh, true.
Yeah. Maybe it's something akin to that, but I don't like it wanted them over on that side with them.
Yeah. And then the knocking on the door. Just don't open it. The knocking on the door is interesting though, because I feel like with the Ouija board, you've already invited it in. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
why knock on the door? Just
My guess is it's just messing around.
To be scary?
Yeah.
to heighten your fear.
That or just testing its reach.
Oh,
Moving on to our next story. I accidentally summoned demons with a Ouija board. Maybe. I just found this group and I have to talk about the scariest things that have ever happened to me. This all happened when I was in high school in my parents' house, and I feel like I've always been a little sensitive to the paranormal, but this house took it to an entirely new level. I've always believed in ghosts, always been obsessed with ghost shows like Ghost Hunters and A Haunting, always loved scary movies, and always said that Halloween was my favorite holiday. So when 2 of my best friends asked me if I wanted to use a Ouija board, of course I said yes. Now, in hindsight, this was not one of the best decisions I've ever made. We went out late at night, and the small town we lived in had a cemetery right in the middle of town. So that's where we went, which I just feel like was definitely stacking the odds against us, but like high school kids, you know? I'm not going to go too much into detail about the experience because it's what happened afterwards that's spooky. But just know that we heard creepy child laughter, literally the worst, and spoke to a known Ouija board demon. And it was enough to make me never want to touch one again. Now, the activity in my house started that night, as soon as I got home, so I have to believe that they're connected. In my parents' house, my brother and I stayed in the basement, and our rooms shared a wall. This was in small town Nebraska in the dead of winter, so it was super cold, and in the basement, we had one of those small infrared heaters on wheels. And that night, I heard the heater rolling around on the linoleum floor. But me, having seen enough scary movies, cue Sidney Prescott's monologue and scream about the dumb girls who always run up the stairs, I knew that the last thing you want to do is check out the spooky noises or acknowledge the things making the spooky noises. So I stayed in my room, super freaked out, and hid under the blankets. That was the first night. And as time continued, things just got progressively worse. Do you guys remember the old metal pencil sharpeners that you had to spin the little handle to sharpen the pencil? For whatever reason, this house had one of those mounted on one of the pillars outside of my room. So this would start rotating at night as well as the heater. Then inside my room, I had a mason jar that sat on top of my dresser in the closet. This started moving around at night too, like back and forth on top of the wooden dresser. Like I said, I had already decided I was never going to acknowledge the spooky ghost, so I wouldn't even look in its direction. And this would go on for what felt like hours at a time. And the longer I ignored it, the more aggressive the mason jar got. I never looked at it until morning, and after one particularly rough night, when I looked at my dresser in the morning, there were scrapes on top of the dresser from the mason jar.
Oh, so it was really moving.
Moving that hard, that fast,
Mhm.
yeah. This had me all the way effed up, but I still hadn't said anything to my family about it. They believe in the paranormal, but they had already told me the house was fine, so I didn't want to bring it up. But now there was tapping on my walls at night. My bedroom has wood paneling in it, and I would hear taps next to my head. Now, also, you know how it feels when your cat jumps on your bed and starts walking around trying to find a spot to lay down? I would feel that at night too, but there would be no cat, which was sufficiently creepy. But to make matters worse, I started hearing my name being whispered at night from my closet. This was happening every single night. And even though I wasn't acknowledging it, it was getting worse. Also, I'm getting chills even writing this because I'm remembering everything and it still freaks me out. On the left side of my bed, I had a huge wooden bookcase that my grandparents had made me because I love reading. And on top of that bookcase was an old little flat screen TV with buttons on the back of it that were super, super loud when you pressed them. Those buttons were starting to press at night too. So at this point, I'm hearing the heater and the pencil sharpener taps on my wall, whispering in my closet, TV buttons pressing, and feeling stuff crawl into my bed. And as you can guess, I'm a mess. My breaking point was one specific night when I had a super vivid nightmare. In the nightmare, I'm in my room and I'm looking around, and as I do, I see a little girl huddled in the corner of my closet, a little boy standing by my bed and pressing on it, a shadow man behind my bookcase, right next to the TV, and a shadow man in the opposite corner tapping on the wall. It was absolutely terrifying. And at this point, I'm incapable of keeping it to myself anymore. I start a conversation with my brother about the nightmare I had. And this is where things get extra creepy, as if it wasn't bad enough already.
I was going to say, this is where stuff gets scary. I'm already scared.
It does get scarier.
Oh my gosh.
I'm telling him about this nightmare and his eyes get super wide. And he's listening in and he interrupts me and describes to me exactly what the little boy pressing my bed looks like. We had the same nightmare. So then I start telling him everything that's been happening to me. And he's nodding along, telling me that he hears the heater too, the pencil sharpener, and the whispers. I ended up talking to my brother when making this post too, and he told me that there was one specific time he was in the basement and he heard something whisper his name, and then his nose immediately started bleeding. To make matters worse, he tells me that I was whispering along with the ghosts. I'm completely dumbfounded and ask what he means, and he tells me that he's seen me sitting straight up in bed, talking in my sleep to whatever was in my room, and I have no memory of it whatsoever. This is all super scary, right? It gets worse.
How?
Right across from my brother's room, across the basement, was a storage room without a door. This room had always given me a yucky feeling, like the kind of feeling where I never wanted to be even near it or look into it in the dark. And I never knew why. My brother's room faced this room, and he told me that he would wake up at night and see a dark shadow that looked like a man standing in the doorway of that room. Some nights he'd be in the doorway, some nights he'd be in the halfway between his room and the storage room, and some nights he'd be standing in the doorway of my bedroom, staring at me. He said that the man never stepped into my room and was never in front of my brother's room, and I never saw him. I was terrified by all of this, but if you can believe it, I felt a little better knowing that I wasn't alone in what I was experiencing. We told my parents and my dad didn't believe us, but my mom told us that she sometimes hears whispering downstairs and would hear someone yell, "Mom," from the bedroom when she was home alone. After I told people things started happening less and less frequently, But I remember one specific time when my boyfriend was over, my now husband, love that for me, and my boyfriend and I were sitting there, and I'm telling him everything. He asked us to stop because he was getting a really terrible headache, and the second we stopped talking about it, it went away. I don't necessarily know how everything stopped. I ended up moving into an apartment building and experienced a few things, like all 3 of my clocks in all different rooms fell off of the walls and shattered at the same time, but I haven't experienced anything to that magnitude since. My mom and brother also told me that the second I moved out of the house, all activity stopped completely, and literally the first night I was no longer living there. I haven't experienced anything since living in my apartment, so I don't know if I left my little ghosties there or not, but either way, I'm very thankful it's no longer happening to me. I'm sorry this ended up being so long, and if you made it this far, I'm thankful you guys took the time to read it. I hope this maybe gave you a little spook, the way it did me when I was experiencing it, and I hope you enjoyed.
A little spook, casual. Just a little scary. No.
That's like one of the scariest stories I've ever read.
That's really, really horrifying. And the brother... Oh, what is it?
Seeing your sister sitting up in the middle of the night whispering back to those whispers you hear through your hall or
Yes,
through
and
the
then
wall.
If I was the brother, I wouldn't trust the sister. I'd be like,
I know you wouldn't.
You're working with
You're
them?
compromised.
Yes, like, oh my God. I'm feeling really unwell.
And I wonder if it truly is connected to the Ouija board. Like if they invited something or several somethings to latch onto them. Maybe they're just like they're in the way their energy is or something.
Like you just said, if you're reaching out, you don't know what's going to reach back. So
And several somethings reached back and latched on.
Yep, could be.
I don't like the man in the hall.
I don't like that either. Also, I wasn't expecting. So to me, the dream is like showing you
What's been happening.
Is doing all that.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't expect that at all. I thought it was like, one entity, but it's the boy, the girl, the man, like all of the,
Man tapping on the wall, man
Yes.
pressing the buttons. Yeah.
That's scary. That's even scarier than it just being one thing tormenting you.
It's like 6
It's a bunch of people.
entities, yeah.
Things.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
We have 2 more. This next one is really strange. Story time. This happened in college, mid-80s. Best friend, who was not yet my roommate at the time, and I got to playing around with a homemade Ouija. Dee and I made it out of basic notebook paper with a straw as a planchette. Broke college days. Such fun. We got in touch with 2 spirits who claimed to be from World War II, Jonathan and Wade. Being the dumb college kids we were, we begged them to send us a sign. They didn't want to and said it would cost a lot of energy and might open a door to other, less good spirits. No, we said. Send us a sign. We log off, go to sleep, wake up, go out, run errands, return to the dorm room, and their message light is blinking. The answering machine. Scroll through, one message in the middle is Wade loves Katie. We knew no Wades. No one in Dee's family and my family is named Wade. We had no friends, professors, fellow students named Wade. And so we proceeded to freak right out. Replayed it. Kept freaking out. OMG, this must be their sign. Then had the bright idea to bring over our best male buddy and let him hear it. He lived across the way in the boys' dorm. Dee and I run downstairs and she runs to get Jay. We run back upstairs. Message light is still blinking. We go to play the messages and that particular message in the middle is gone. It never came back. Cue more freaking out. Cue a stern warning from Jay about messing with Ouija boards. Dee and I kept doing it. But I noticed my hands going cold all the way up to my elbows. I felt drained. No energy. Then one weekend, my roommate went home. I went out, returned home around dusk. I walked in and the dorm was freezing cold. In May, in the deep south. I walked in and saw at the window a giant hand that knocked 3 times through the glass. We lived on the 3rd floor. I took one giant step back, said nothing, thought nothing, turned off the light, locked the door, and ran down to Dee's dorm room. Cue more freaking out. I told Dee I'm spending the night here, even if I have to sleep on the floor. We eventually relaxed, and then I suddenly realized I need my contact solution and clothes. We have to go back. Dee said give it an hour or 2 more, and so we did. We went back in. Room was completely normal. No heaviness, no freezing temperatures. Dee and I ripped up the homemade Ouija, clipped the straw planchette into pieces, and never did it again. I know what I saw. I saw a giant hand knocking on my window through the glass. It moved the window blinds on the inside, and we lived on the 3rd floor. Something wanted in. Never again.
Burn it. Burn it.
And then somebody commented and asked, do you think it was Wade knocking? And they said, oh no, this felt very demonic. I forgot to add, we had started getting figure eights, never a good sign, from all I've read, and at least had the good common sense to log out when that started. And forgive me, it was late when I typed this, but after the Wade loves Katie message, my friend Dee swore she heard, we are here, really fast at the end of the Wade message. I think we invited more in than we realized, and we learned our lesson.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Because who is we?
I know.
Who is we?
I know.
I don't care. Broke college student or not. Hey, been there, and I'm speaking from a broke college student perspective. I was the brokest of all the broke college students. Those contacts, I'm either sleeping in them and damaging my eyes, or I'm soaking them in some water and dealing with consequences later.
Dude, you don't wear contacts, you don't know.
I know. I don't, but I'm just saying something else would be done. I'd be picking up an extra shift. I'd be working my serving shift being like, hi, I can't afford contacts. Sorry if I slip into your table, just hoping someone tips me or something, because I'm not going back to that apartment that room that night. I'm not. I could not. Or I would stay up all night until the sun came up, and then I would go take my contacts out, and then I would go to bed.
Yeah. Well, I have slept in many a contacts.
And I know you're not
it's
supposed
not
to.
very pleasant.
Yeah, I know you're not supposed to. I know it
Usually.
could be very bad, but
Some people lose them in the back of their eyes.
yeah, and that's horrifying, but not as horrifying as seeing a hand knock on your window.
Your third story window.
On the third floor.
Mm-hmm.
That is so sick.
If a spirit is telling you, we can't, it takes a lot of energy, and we could invite some other things in, I'm saying, okay, spirit.
Enough said, and I'm burning the board, because I've
be done.
Learned more than I needed to know already.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll move on to our last story of the episode. I did the Ouija board for the first time ever when I was 13 years old. I did it with my cousin. We sat in the dark bedroom and started asking random questions. Nothing happened, and we gave up, watched TV, and eventually went to bed. That night, I experienced sleep paralysis for the first time ever. It terrified me. I had no idea what was happening. I felt awake. I literally looked around my room and saw my cousin sleeping next to me and all. But I could not move. I was frozen in place. I couldn't speak either. All I could do was look around my dark room, breathe heavy, and hear the things around me. That's when the noises started. I started hearing laughter in my room, like a mocking type of laugh. My heart was going out of control at this point, and that's when a voice started calling my name in like a teasing way. Then the voices were replaced by this train-like noise getting louder and louder. Then suddenly, all the noises and sounds just came to a stop. My eyes searched the room, and to my absolute horror, there was someone standing in my doorway. A dark and tall silhouette. It was just watching me. I was internally screaming. My eyes closed, and I started breathing as loud as I could. Eventually, my cousin woke up next to me and shook me, causing me to snap out of the paralysis. I screamed out for my dad, and he rushed in. I insisted someone was in the house, the dark silhouette I saw. I freaked the poor guy out. He ran all over the house, checking closets and rooms and the garage, but there was nothing there. I was shaking, telling them about what happened. My parents just looked at each other, obviously creeped out, and told me to say a prayer and go to bed with nice thoughts. Well, little did I know that I had just experienced the first of many sleep paralysis incidents. I'm 33 now and still experience some of those incidents. They are freaky as hell, but over the years I've learned to deal with it. But the question is, did the Ouija board have something to do with this? Did it open up some kind of channel? Just a weird coincidence.
I take back everything I said. I don't need to know. I really don't need to know. I was just playing.
Okay.
I was just joking.
I was truly shocked when you said that. I was like,
No, because I thought so. Because we haven't talked about them in a while.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I'm just a little bit curious, you know?
Some of the stories sound fun.
No.
Like you get like a good little scare or
yeah, and then nothing
interesting
else happens.
information, and then it's all over. Yeah.
But then you have the ones that it's like, I'm 33 now. I did this when I was, 12 or whatever.
And I'm still suffering the consequences.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
No, I'm good actually.
Were you sufficiently spooked?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I'm feeling really gross.
I'm glad.
Yeah, so I don't really have anything else to say, guys. Let me know about the Reddit August if you care.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want it though.
And if you have any really creepy, weird incidences with a Ouija board, we're not advocating you play
No.
never advocating for playing with
But
the
if
Ouija
you
board.
already did in the past.
But if you have done it before and you'd like to send us your story, you can email us. It's ghostiespod@gmail.com. It's also written down in our description if you'd like to send us your story. It doesn't have to be Ouija board. Anything. We'll take literally anything. Like this video if you liked it. Share it with your friends if you feel compelled to do so. And subscribe for more. We've got another listener stories coming on Friday. You can also join our Patreon if you liked this episode and you want to hear more strange, weird, scary Reddit stories. It's over on patreon.com/ghosties.
Ooh, the Patreon one was fun.
That was a good one.
It wasn't a themed one, but it was fun.
It kind of halfway had a theme.
Yeah, you could see what you were looking into, for sure.
I was interested in.
It followed your path, but it wasn't necessarily themed.
Mm-hmm.
Whew.
You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. It's @GhostiesPod. We post over there sometimes, and usually if there's any updates to what's going on over here, that's where we post first.
Yep.
And other than that, we will see you on Friday.